but what she wanted, she said, have everybody meet at a park and tell the funniest story they can remember about me. So, and Matt and I had a discussion about what the word funny means. Because it's not necessarily funny, haha. It could be funny, like that girl be weird. I will start. All right, and Jenny and I talked about what the stories we were going to tell. So when Janice, me, and Debbie were growing up in the parochial system and going to St. Anne's, which is not around anymore, we had a huge playground. Now, only because there was a couple of baseball fields and a couple of soccer fields involved, so we would go to the very far end. I mean, you could not see us from the far end. And Janny and Dee would smoke a cigarette. Now what, 14 years old, I'm giving them. And I would hang out with them because that's the kind of woman I am. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might have gone and bought the cigarettes because I thought, it's not about me. Yeah. And it wasn't just the three of us. There might have been a few kids in and out. I don't know. So the nuns from, I'm not kidding, 200 yards away.
I believe that.
So when we got back to school, they called us out on that. And they said, okay, so you think you want to smoke cigarettes? You're going to be big girls? Well, here's what we're going to do. So we must have been 7th grade because the 8th grade watched us. We sat on the set of stairs that was part of the school. Janny, Debbie, and I. And they each, the nuns bought us each a pack of cigarettes. You know, there's 20 in a pack. Yeah. Camel. And I've never smoked. I had asthma, for God's sakes. You know, so we had to sit there and smoke those 20 cigarettes back to back until we were done. Oh yeah. The Sisters of Mercy. Did I say that? Yeah. So we sat there and we staggered ourselves. The three of us were on there.
Thank you so much.
Debbie and Jenny were enjoying themselves, and I was like, you know, trying to get the cigarettes burnt. Well, there was a kid in 8th grade, Brian. I don't remember his last name. Brian, who knew an old man just down the street who smoked the same cigarettes. They were like camels with filters, right? With filters. And so Brian, the 8th grader, went to the old man's house and got a bunch of butts. And so we were all, when we were staggered, on each side of the steps were bushes. So Brian would sneak into the bushes because we were to take all 20 cigarettes out of the pack and lay them out on the sidewalk so the nuns and the 8th graders, so the class above us, can watch us suffer back. And so here again, I was so sick, and Brian would sneak between the bushes, and he would take a couple of cigarettes and put a butt. You know, so, and he did it, I think, for all three of us, right? I think, you know, that's what he did. And, you know, he loved us, you know. So when we got done, it took us a while, right? Forever. It seemed like forever. And then, I don't know if it was you or Dee, it was you, who stood up and the 21st cigarette fell out of her skirt. Oh. And so you had to smoke it. What it wasn't, they gave you like a minute to quit, to suck that thing dry. And so here again. I haven't smoked since, and but a couple of times I remember when we started this gesture, you guys were just like, you know, just being really cute. And it was after a while we were all green. But after that, so that was like a Friday, right? And then the three of us had to pick dandelions in the pasture of the rectory, so everybody could see us. So you had to, you know, it was a main street, 24th and Poppleton, you know, so everybody who drove by or got out of school can watch us literally. And we had to pile them, right? I think we had to count the dandelions. Yeah, we had the dandelion pickers. And Janny at the time lived across the street, literally across the street from school. And we were just talking about that. Her mother and your aunt would sit there and heckle us the whole time, you know.
They're smoking.
Oh, my God. And that's my story from 13 or 14 years old. So that's the kind of story we're looking for. So a lot of you have your own story. Like I said, Matt and I had talked about that. So if anybody has something, it's not mandatory. But if you have a story you would like to recollect, this is the time. Anybody? No? I don't say anybody. Who's going to do it first? Here we go. Come on, Diane. You can tell your story.
I'm a first cousin to Dee and Donna, and we used to go to Grandma's house in Omaha all the time, and we would spend weeks there at a time. And I was the little hick kid from Wahoo, and they were like the cool kids
City
from
kids,
Omaha.
That's right. That's right.
And we would go to the parks and do things and have fun, and I always looked up to both of them, even though they're 6 months younger, it's because they were so worldly.
Yeah.
We had many, many, many great memories together.
Well, it was really funny. So Russell and I, my half brother, when we were little, Grandma owned a hotel on 27th and Dodge. Now that hotel's gone. It's been gone for quite a while, but it was mostly for men. Remember,
Boarding house.
a boarding house for businessmen. And we spent most of our time on the weekends with Grandma and Grandpa. And but in the back of the hotel, maybe a block away, was the hobby store. Do you remember, Russell?
Yes.
And the hobby store was a candy store galore.
Yeah.
So we're 9 years old, traveling the world to the hobby store. And in the basement of this hobby store was a raceway. What was that?
Little
Russell?
stock car race.
Little
Yeah,
stock
you
car
push the button
racing,
and
and there would
Slot
be
cars,
slot cars. And God only knows. Now that I think about it, in my memory, the men, because there was never any women there. The men of all different shapes and sizes, ages, were there, and we're like little, eating candy and watching these men. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe we put ourselves. Maybe not a wise decision. Didn't know. But Grandma would let us adventure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we were allowed to go. Debbie and I, at one time, we were there at Grandma's extendedly, so maybe a couple weeks, a vacation or something like that. Mom was on vacation. And we, Dodge Street, for a lot of you know, Dodge Street's really busy. It's a very, back then it was still a one-way street, very busy. And there would be cars parked in front of the little hotel. And Debbie and I would lay on our bellies between two cars, and we would flip rocks at the cars going by. We were really bored. And so we're doing this. Here again, God only knows what Grandma's doing.
Yeah.
She's probably washing clothes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and we had literally broke a window on a car. So, here we're stupid. We pop up and we run into Grandma's, hotel going, nothing here.
Yeah.
And that man knocked on the hotel door and said, you're rapscallions. And Grandma and Grandpa had to pay for that window. So we were angels. We were innocent angels, just trying to keep ourselves occupied. All right, come on, anybody.
Bobby has one.
Yeah, I got one. I've lived across the street from Debbie all my life.
Are we doing story time?
Yeah,
I
we're
lived
doing
across the
story
street
time.
from her.
Oh.
We lived across the street from each other our whole lives, my whole life anyway. And I was probably, I don't think I was 10 yet, maybe 8. I was on the front yard
I
playing
remember when you were a baby, Bobby.
playing with the Hot Wheels in front of my house, and Debbie comes out from upstairs with Jenny, and she's walking across the street, and she said, "Hey, Bobby, you want to smoke some grass? And I'm like, yeah, I'll smoke some grass. So I stood up, grabbed my Hot Wheels and a handful of grass, and walked and followed her over to the house. And we went in there and we sat down on the couch, and she pulled a little tray out. And I threw the grass on the table, and she's like, "What the hell is that?" I said, "I thought we were going to smoke some grass." That was my story. That was,
Great.
and
That explains
Yeah.
everything, Bob.
yeah, it does.
Anybody?
Oh, I mean, I easily have a good couple of stories with Dee. For those of you that don't know me, hi, my name is Will.
Hi,
I was
Will.
one of her nephews.
My son.
Yeah, Dee was near and dear to my heart. She was like a second mother, and I remember there was one Thanksgiving where she came out to Colorado, as she always did every year, and there was a blizzard that was on its way. It wasn't necessarily a bad one by our measurement, but enough to be a little bit concerning. Well, when I was over at my parents' place and she was there, Dee asked me to drive her somewhere, and I'm glad that you brought up smoking grass because I didn't really want to do it. But Dee wanted to go to a dispensary before the weather got really bad outside, and I was younger at the time and said, "Oh, I don't know if I want to deal with the traffic and everything like that." And Dee kind of brought me in close and said, "Let me put it this way. I'm going to have to deal with your mom and dad being locked indoors with each other for an entire day. Please help me make it bearable." And I'll always remember her for that because the woman spoke her mind. She saw no point in
Amen.
dancing around a subject, and I always love her for that. It's something I always try and do because, man, you rip the Band-Aid off and it's just a lot easier to deal with. Yeah, I'll always miss her for that. I'll always try and live up to that example.
And after that particular, because Denver or Colorado's been a marijuana state for quite a long time. So they went to the same place most of the time.
Yep,
Right?
year after year.
You know, and every year, you know, even if he wasn't available, she'd look at me and she'd go, "All right." First thing, I mean, she wanted to go from the airport.
Yeah.
From the airport to this place, you know, because you can't do that. And I would take her to the dispensary, but I would never get out. I would make sure my car couldn't be seen by anyone, you know, because I didn't want to be associated with that, you know.
Really was so
Well, it was
risky.
really weird. So back then, a lot of you know that she was using a cane. She'd use a cane and she'd get in there, and you use a cane, you special. So she got into the disability line. I know. And she would come out, and here again, my car, you couldn't see my driver, my license plate or anything like that. And she'd come out, and she'd be walking, you know, real smiley and happy. And then she would raise her cane and go, "Ah!" And I would go, "Okay, just get in the car. We need to go." You know. So, yeah, she did speak her mind, right? Everybody,
Oh, yeah.
for a few of you, everybody, you know she spoke her mind. She did. She was a woman that if you asked her a question, you were going to get an answer.
Yeah.
You know, if you liked it or not. But I will, you know, for anybody, Joe, anything? No? Because we have stories. You and I have stories. But the one thing I want to talk about, okay, there's the picture board. You guys are more than welcome to look at it. And those pictures will be, they're temporary. So if anybody feels they got to have something, that's fine. But what I want to do is talk to Cody and Lakaya. So I had been here for Thanksgiving, and we had a great Thanksgiving. And the Friday after Thanksgiving, I was taking a plane, and I said goodbye, and she got really kind of sad, weepy. And I said, "What? What's the problem? What's the problem?" And she said, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to leave." And I said, "Well, only the good die young. You know, so don't worry about it. You'll be fine." And it's literally what, Cody, about 6 months since the diagnosis.
6.5.
You know, so I said the deal was that I would be back for her birthday, which is February 4th. And so we made this plan. She goes, okay, fine, this is all good. I got on the plane the Monday after Thanksgiving. Lakaya just happened to be sleeping on the long couch. You just happened to be there. Debbie, I guess the night before was a little, questionable, but Debbie had woke up and she had her cigarette because the doctor said she could start smoking again. So she was smoking cigarettes. What was it? American Spirit or American Spirit? Organic. Oh my God, they're
worried about her health there.
so different. So Debbie had gone out. She does it outside on the porch. She had her cigarette. She came in and made her one cup of
terrible instant coffee.
terrible instant coffee, and she wasn't well. She started here again. You probably tell the story better than me, but she started probably coughing.
We were having a conversation.
Okay.
As normal.
You were having a conversation because you were up. She's there.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you one thing: no matter who slept on that long couch, Debbie was going to be there, and she was going to have her TV on, and she was going to be drinking her coffee. You happen to be there. I'm sorry. So so that at that moment in time, you realize something's wrong. Debbie's not feeling well. She starts coughing. She starts not feeling well, and because Lakaya was there, you were able to go upstairs and get Cody, and Cody was able to come down and be with Dee for the last 10 minutes, because it was quick, you guys. It was real quick. And so, as you look at Providence or however you look at the moment in time, you were there, and because Cody might have never knew what was going on at that moment, and Debbie might have been alone, but she wasn't. So I thank you for that moment in time. And here again, she went quickly, everybody. She lived her life the way she lived it, and she died the way she did. So, Cody, anything?
No.
I want to add something real quick. And it's just a statement that she talked about being here and feeling guilty that we all come to see her and enjoy her. And she was going to have to buy Christmas presents again.
She did, right?
She said if she was gonna be there around Christmas, she was gonna be damn pissed off that she had to go.
Yeah, because she was going to have to say goodbye to everybody again.
Again, yes.
All you that were here.
The first couple of weeks it was very difficult. They gave her 2 days and then
2
somebody else
hours,
gave her
2 days, 2 months.
weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks, you know what I mean? And they kept telling us, well, it's this. And we were in the hospital and we made 1,000 phone calls really, really quick. We called everybody that we could immediately. Everybody that we could immediately. And then even while we were still in the hospital, June Pollock was our go-to person.
Yeah.
He helped us out tremendously because I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, so I called and I said, I don't know what to do. Mom's dying. I'm going to get picked up. He was so kind. He told me to come to the office. He went to the office, did the paperwork. We got all that sorted away, and then we just.
Yeah, she was wearing a wig. It wasn't the
exactly.
girl was never sick.
No.
She was just dying.
And so we went home and we were gonna have our 2 weeks, and then hospice started, and then that 2 weeks kind of drug on, and then we actually went through a couple of nurses, and Mom was just kind of unimpressed with a bunch of them because they would come in with the gloves on, and they would come on with masks, and they go, let's take your temperature, and Mom would just keep canceling on them. And so we had a fantastic nurse Kathy.
Oh yes.
She was going to try to be here today. Her son's in state for wrestling, so we'll talk about her. But when she came in, and the rest of Mom's care was just the nurse showing up for 45 minutes once a week and going, what do you want?
Yeah, you need
What
that.
do you want? What do you want to try this drug? You want to try that drug? You want to do this? You want to do that? You know what I mean? Like what treatments, you know? And we were very active in her pain management, in her quality of life management. We were very active in that role. Some may call us overbearing towards the end. And you know, we had what we would call like an end of life game plan.
Yeah.
And they told us it was going to be this long kind of drawn out affair, so they gave us a lot of meds.
End of life.
End of life meds, right? Which is a really fancy way of saying it's just an overdose at home. It's a kind of way of saying it's an overdose.
Yeah.
But you know, you administer all of this really quickly and da. So, you know, we talked about it a lot, and then, you know, when I came down that morning, she was puking blood. I said, you know, is it now? You know, because we had had a few scares. Mom had puked up blood a couple of times. There was a couple of times where, you know, she goes, this is it. You know,
And it wasn't it.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't it.
Yeah, it
No,
wasn't
of
it.
course it
Yeah.
wasn't. But eventually this was the day, and you know, it was call the nurses, get the meds, pray, and all of that happened within the span of maybe 5 minutes. We didn't have time to get the drug pack open, so we didn't have time to do anything.
But you were holding her hand and praying.
We were holding her hand and praying, but the most amazing part about it is the agency that she had in her own moment. There was no trepidation or fear. It was like any other workload that she had. If any of you knew Mom, every tragedy that she took and everything that she went through, she took in kind of a strange stride. She had a comfort about her about uncomfortable things that made a lot of people uncomfortable. You know, like she talked about her own death like it wasn't a very big deal, and towards the end, she didn't feel as such either. You know, she was in control to the very, very end. You know, and it was fast. And it was. She really wasn't in pain. She wasn't struggling for breath. She just kind of, you know, she told us exactly what to do. And she went out while we were praying, and she put it back. That was it.
That was it.
We started making phone calls, and
What time was it?
it was early in the morning. It was about 8 a.m.
Before 8, right?
Yeah.
Before 8, yeah.
And you know, we called the nurses, and the irony is they only picked up while Mom was passing. We were on hold the whole time. Well, we'll get you somebody. And the nurse goes, "Do you need us to send someone out?" Nope. She goes, "Well, we'll stay in the line," and they did. And I said, "No, can you get, you know?" And the nurse was good enough to come out. After what time she had, she expected everything to come out there. And we called Pastor Steve, and I didn't know who else to call. When we found out that Mom was in hospice, we didn't know who to call. We called everybody, but like, you know, we stopped calling doctors and started calling preachers and priests and rabbis.
Yeah.
And they came out and they talked to Mom, and it was very good. And when Mom passed, I called Pastor Steve. I was like, "He's out there in pain." He did. He prayed. He prayed over her, you know. We had a lot of really, really good moments after she passed. She was just there on the couch, like kind of she always was, you know. We got to set and hold her hand and throw her arm around her and say her goodbye.
Guard her till she was picked up. That's right. Give her, yeah.
So
So, yeah.
it was good, you know.
It was
And,
good.
even in that moment, like it was sad, but like, you know, we all had a good laugh about it. Even in the moment, we had her undertaker come and take her out. Yeah, I knows what I'm gonna say.
Who was out of a comical
Yeah,
movie playing the
yeah,
part of
exactly. I like just imagine like the most stereotypical like evil Undertaker from any movie. He was like 6'3", bald, gaunt, tail, he had a black trench coat. He came and they took her out, and I was just like, as soon as he leaves, I was like, huh? What did you say?
Sounds like Tracy McGrady.
And as soon as he left, I was like, is it me or does that guy seem like really like menacing?
Yeah.
Like, very, it's like that's like very like stereotypical.
You didn't have a sigh with him?
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Okay.
very
Yeah.
strange. Like, wow, that's very strange. But no, you know, it was like I said, Mom, and she went out on her own terms. She went out home. She went out surrounded by people she knows and loves. You know, I know it was. We all hope that's how we can go. You know, and then we all
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
You know. probably not, but you know, let's hope. No, she did it right from beginning to end. You know, we spent 6 years with her. You know, I spent 6 years being a caretaker there a lot, you know, and she took everything in stride. You know, it's not like her body was being break her hips, her back, her breathing, you know.
Yeah, just like all us people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right, we all, yeah, they.
But no, it never stopped her from doing exactly what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, she sat down, she got high, she drank wine, she watched 90 Day Fiance, she made us all nice little baby. You know, if only Steve Wilkos could be here, he just lost his biggest fan. Oh my God.
She can make a conversation about it entertaining.
Yeah, she could.
That's true. That's very
Mom could make anything entertaining or super uncomfortable, depending on
Yeah.
The bizarre obsession with Jason Momoa.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's to Jason Momoa.
No, it was good. It was fast, and like I said, she had no fear about it. She had no trepidation. She wasn't scared of words. She was nonplussed. Yeah, she was nonplussed about it. She was very, this is happening.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, after a lot of you had spent time with her after June when we got the diagnosis, a lot of you came. You came out of the woodwork. It was like, oh, because she always said to me, oh, I don't have any friends like you have. And so as the 40th person came to visit,
Yeah.
you know, she goes, damn, man, I'm going to have to see these people again at Christmas.
It was really amazing to see Steve. And you know, Mom sat down with Pastor Steve. He was there a lot. He prayed with us a lot. Now, Father Sonorio, you know, he did Dad's last rites. He was the priest at the church we were part of when Dad was sick. Rabbi Ari came through. You know, she Mom had to be sick. She had a confession. She had her Eucharist. She wanted to cheer everything up, you know, at the end, and kind of, you know. But you know, like I said, she was ready. So she was ready. She talked a lot about seeing Dad and Grandma, you know, and things like that. And, you know, she was ready. Like I said, she didn't have a lot of trepidation about it. There was nothing fearful or scared or anything. She was such a trooper. You know what I mean? She was the calmest person in the room, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a story.
So,
I have a story.
all right, come
I
on,
have a
Danny.
story.
You had talked about the story. Come on.
Well, we didn't talk about the mosquito last night, so I won't bore you guys with that one again. But we had, I lived across the street from Dee as teenagers, and we went through teenager things. And there was a time where my first concert was to go with Dee, and it was Alice Cooper and his
I've seen Alice Cooper.
And I got grounded a few days before that concert, and of course I couldn't. Mom, but I got tickets already. Your ass ain't going nowhere. Well, concert day, I come down with 3 pairs of jeans, and I told my mom, Debbie wants her jeans back. Get your ass over there and get it right back. Well, I took Debbie her jeans, and we snuck out her back door, and we went and saw Alice Cooper. Got my ass beat over that one. But another one was, Donna was talking about us having to dig up dandelions. Well, Dee convinced me that the mosquito I had on my knee that I was getting ready to smash. No, just leave it. If you let it get its fill, it doesn't itch. So we sat there watching this mosquito's butt fill up with blood. It got so full when it released from me, it fell to the grass because it couldn't even fly because we let it get full. That was the most itchiest mosquito bite I ever had. So.
And that's why we were picking dandelions.
Dandelions,
right?
yes,
Oh my
yes.
God.
So just a couple from me.
Well, thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you for
Right.
having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for, a lot of us talk personally, so, I got your vibe, We know how she was. She never changed. And I hope you only have fond memories of them.
Yay. We have
Cheers. Yes.
We do have 2 stories though. I told Mom I was gonna tell.
Okay.
One I wanted to tell one she did not want me to tell. So
There you go.
right. So the first one was everybody knew that my mom was an above and beyond sort of person. So mom, I don't know if you guys remember when she was doing house cleaning, she played a lot of radio station like prizes and draws and things like that, right? She won a gun a couple of times. She won like travel tickets. But one year, and this dates it, she won tickets to One Direction. Right? She won 2 tickets to One Direction. I was what, 20 something? And so mom picked him up from the radio station. She goes, I got tickets to One Direction. I was like, oh my gosh, are you gonna go? That's so strange. Like, why are you said that? She's like, we're gonna scalp them.
Sounds about right.
And they were good tickets. They weren't like on the floor, but they were good, right? And so mom has them in hand, and she's like, let's try to get, like $300 for these things, like, because there's scalpers out there who are asking for like $1,200 or whatever, And so she's going by, and there's like a bunch of just nefarious characters down there, like trying to scalp tickets for desperate families, and then mom, just give me $300, $200, who wants this, right? So eventually we're walking around down there for like an hour, no sales, right? And mom's just like, do you know what's going on here? And somebody's just like, you don't look mean enough to actually have the tickets. It looks more like a scam and you're trying to shake someone down or whatever. So eventually we came through a large table that another radio station was having about if you fill out enough of these little forms, they'll do a raffle draw, and whoever wins that raffle draw gets 2 tickets, right? And my mom's just like, who's filled out the most? Who's filled out the most tickets? I'm like, well, there was a lady here 45 minutes ago, and she filled out like 200 of these little tickets to try to get to the raffle draw. And so mom goes, when is she coming back? They're like, we're doing the draw in 20 minutes. And mom said, fuck that. And she goes, what does she look like? And that's exactly what mom said. What the fuck does she look like? And it turns out that the lady was a nurse, and she was wearing black scrubs, right? She's like, she wore black scrubs and her ponytails pulled back. And mom's like, got it. And so what she did is she waited for the lady to start walking towards the booth, and then ran at her with the tickets in hand. And she said, tickets! Like, she didn't say anything else. It wasn't like anything else. She goes, tickets! And the woman starts crying because she thinks she just won the contest. And mom's part of the radio station. And the lady was like, I won the contest. And mom goes, no. And the lady's instantly both confused and scared. Right? And mom goes, you can just have them. And the lady started crying. She's like, really? Mom's like, yeah, you can just have them. And she's like, oh, my daughter, we've been here. This is all my daughter wants for her birthday. And mom's like, you can just have them. And in that moment was that whole, my mom waited around for the woman. It was just this incredible act of kindness that, like, my mom didn't need to do. You know what I mean? We didn't even need to wait. You know what I mean? Mom could have just chalked it up to just like, well, I'm tired of being here. But she waited because she knew that there was somebody who needed that. And that's who she was, And I had that very profound moment of being in my early 20s and like being shaped by like, this is the type of person I want to end up being like. This is the type of person who I want to emulate, this level of kindness. And there's this moment where this woman's crying, and this woman is like, she's very, very quiet, and she goes, well, at least let me offer you gas money, and holds up a couple of 20s. I've never seen mom grab cash faster. Mom was a kind person, but she never passed up an opportunity. And in that moment was like the dichotomy of what was mom. Right? She was kind and she was giving, and she was a very loving, come as you are type of person. She never judged. She always had an ear to listen to. She was always very nice. She was always very, open. There's so many people here who have stayed at our house when they were down and out in another place. She was mother to so many boys who weren't her own. You know what I mean? A lot of people stayed with us. She saw a lot of kids grow up. She really helped with that. That was amazing. And
Cody, accepting the money from the lady probably made the lady feel better too.
Yeah, 100%.
She wasn't getting charity.
Yeah, 100%.
So your mom made her feel better by doing that.
No, 100%. And mom, that's what mom did. She made people feel better, And but that's always one of the I've had a lot of stories about mom. But that's always something that really stood out to me is just mom going above and beyond for someone that she didn't know, but she just was. She was a kind. She was a caring person. And the other story is, I don't know if any of you know. Some of the guys sort of know this, but we have a story about mom wearing fairy wings at Halloween. Now, for you guys that know, mom used to go out, like when she was in her 50s still, she would still go out for Halloween, right? And she went out with a couple of friends of hers. And one year, Mom got super excited because she bought a pair of wings from Mangelson's. Cheap fairy wings, right? And they're here. And Mom's like, I'm going out. She came back probably 5 or 6 hours later, being helped out by her two friends, and the wings were absolutely destroyed. Right? And of course, we're thinking like, yeah, falling down, yeah, whatever she's doing, right? So the story that goes on is they go to a couple of bars downtown and they're kind of bar hopping, and she's with two friends of hers. Mom's dressed up as a fairy, and she's drinking Jack and Coke.
Oh,
yes. That is Mom's kryptonite. She could do a lot of drinking, but Jack and Coke was never her friend. And what had happened, being retail, I wish her friend Steve was here to tell you, is she was in a bar and two Marines had said something about her wings when she was too many beers, Jack and Coke deep. And what happened was a fight between two Marines, my mom, her friend Steven, and Mark, who was there at that time. And when she came back, I hear from Steve and Mark that she definitely held her own. She did amazingly well. And when she came back, and I was just like, we should save these wings. We should like put them in some like Lexan, put them up on the window, you know what I mean? Like, she never wanted to. She's like, no, and she never drank whiskey in public after that. Actually. But that was Mom. That was Mom. She was a firecracker. You know what I mean? Like, not until Mom had her surgery did she ever slow down, and she would have never retired unless she did. You know what I mean? Mom was a firecracker. You know, she raised me as a single mother, and she was a take no bullshit type of person. She was kind and she was caring, but she was plain in her words. She meant exactly what she said. And I want people to remember both sides of Mom. She was a caring person, but she was a badass.
You can't even call that slowing down. If it happened to anyone else.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Entirely different story.
Yeah, you know, like, so, and like I said, she went out 100% on her own terms. Nobody else gets to say that. She lived how she wanted to. She died how she wanted to. And when she has asked, she goes, someone asked her, it's like, do you have any regrets? Do you have anything you wanted to do? Do you have any regrets? She goes, no, I don't have any regrets. She goes, you're like, you ever wanted to travel? She goes, no. She goes, no. She's like, I don't want to see the fucking Eiffel Tower. She's like, no. You know, she said that while cracking a bottle of wine. And they're like, you know, do you have anybody you want to forgive or anybody to forgive you? She's like, no. She's like, I don't have the energy for that anymore. You know, she was really pure in that way. She just didn't care enough. So I wanted you all to remember those stories of Mom. She was unbelievably kind. And she was also the toughest person any of us will meet. Through and through, the strongest individual that I'll ever know. And that's what I want you guys to take away the most. She was kind, she was loving, she was a come-as-you-are person, but Mom was strong. Yes, she was. Mom was strong. I appreciate you guys for coming out.
And I didn't know Dee as well as you guys did, but about 20 years ago, I first met Dee. And it was a blessing to have that connection with her. And for many, many years, I have prayed for Dee Kitzmiller and for Cody and for Matt and for Jeff. And you three guys on my prayer list, you know, dear Lord, please help Dee and Cody, Matt, and Jeff. And so, and I just had one verse that I wanted to share. And it's a verse from Psalms 15. And it says, 8 things that the Lord is for us. And it's just so good because we all need times of refreshing. This is a time of refreshing together right here, sharing stories. But the reality is life is often hard. And we're back at home and we have all of our issues. The Lord is my strength, my rock, my fortress, my deliverer, my refuge, my shield, my salvation, my stronghold. And that's an anchor for our souls when life is hard. And the Bible also says, repent and believe the good news that times of refreshing may come from the Lord. And we all need that. We're refreshed right here together. But life is hard at home. And the realities of life, what will give us that strength? As we look to the Lord, as we simply say, okay, God, I need you. Repentance, simple belief, trust in Christ. There is that complete forgiveness. And we can actually know for sure that we're going to heaven one day. And that's the good news of the gospel. That's for all of us. And I trust that we will hold that in our hearts and truly have Christ in her life, because man, it makes all the difference in the world. And I live just 2 blocks from the family there at 27th and Poppleton, and so we've been there for 27 years now as well. So a long time. So we're right in the neighborhood, and it was such an honor that Cody called me 10 minutes after Dee passed away, and I was there as soon as I could come, and to have those precious moments there with Dee still sitting in her chair and with the family was very special to me. And so thank you, and thank you for including us in this invite as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate everybody for coming out.